Good evening. Welcome to our regular board meeting for the month of September. Appreciate all of you being here with us. And at the beginning of our meetings, we like to start with a moment of silence, and I'll ask you to join us. We do want you to remember Mr. Steve Moore and his family. He had signed up to run the District 2 school board seat, but we've got word today that he had passed away. So please remember him and his family as we have a moment of silence.
Not Mr. Moore that works for us.
Yes, not Mr. Moore, the principal. I mean, assistant principal up at West Oak works for us. Yeah. But if you would join us. Amen. Thank you. And Josh, if you would like to come up and introduce students, and we'll invite you to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I ask them to stand in the front so they can get on camera.
I have two of our students here. We want to recognize one of our teachers and our students. Every day, these two raise and lower our flags at the school, and we feel it's a very important job, especially the news lately. You're hearing all kind of criticism with our national anthem and everything else, but our students take pride in that. We want to celebrate that by having them say the pledge and recognize them today.
Okay, if y'all will stand. Okay.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Mr. Holliday, do your students have names?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Madison Bray and R.J. Morris. I apologize.
And we do appreciate y'all taking that job seriously and doing such a good job. It is very important. And that's one of the teaching. Patriotism is something that is part of our job as public schools, and we thank you for taking that job seriously.
I was going to ask the parents if their picture can go out on Twitter, it's a district Twitter account. Before I do that. I also want to recognize Gary Robertson. Gary is a sergeant in the National Guard. He's also a teacher at our school. Every day he is out there with them raising and lowering the flag. He has taught them the proper procedures for that. So I do appreciate his service not only for our country but at our school also. So it's very patriotic week. I was telling them I'm driving over and realized it is Constitution Week. So it's very fitting for us to recognize them tonight. So I thank them for all they do and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Do you have anything else, Suzanne? Okay. All right. Thank y'all for being with us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
If we could get a motion to start with our regular agenda, get a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the agenda for September 19, 2016 regular board meeting.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Anybody see anything they need to address, change? Hearing none, all in favor? It's unanimous. Then next we have public comment. We have 3 people, I think. And Luther Lyle's going to be first on the agenda. So Luther, if you'd like to come up, you can come over to the mic so we can hear you, and then they can also get you on tape.
That mic that's got the red light on it is what'll pick your voice up for the
Yeah, you might.
video, so if you could get as close to that.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, board members, and Dr. Dorson, I am Luther Lyle, in case you don't know me. I represent the Museum of the Cherokee here tonight, and we have an opportunity for the students of Oconee School District to be involved in a project that we are involved in, and I think they would appreciate the opportunity and would like to have their input. What we are doing currently is called the Oconee Town Project, and some of you are already aware of that and have heard about it. It's been in the news. We are purchasing the historic archaeological site of Oconee Town. And Oconee Town, as you well know, is the Cherokee village that everything Oconee here locally is named for. It started with Oconee Station, and then it developed into Oconee County, and then everything else, Oconee School District and all, were named for Oconee Town. We are very fortunate in that over the past several years in negotiations with the family who own the site of Oconee Town, they have decided unanimously to sell the property to us at a very reasonable price. When we do that, that town site will be incorporated into Oconee Station under the state park system. So we will own the site that our county and school district and everything else is named for. So this is where the students come in. We'd like to give them the opportunity to take part in this. I taught for 32 years, and over those years we had fundraisers. And we raised funding for things like Save the Whales, Save the Porpoises, Save the Rainforest. But this is more at a local level. It's something tangible here that you can see and actually go to and enjoy. I put together a packet of information. I know I'm limited in time here, and I'll try to get through this. You have an abbreviated version on your desk there. But there are several important things about the site, and I put those in your packet. We have a narrative summary there. We have a background, some background information about the site. We have historic references. What you do not have would be the things that the state has put together. They did surveys at the site, confirmed that is indeed the Oconee Town site. They have a list of artifacts that they discovered. We have done 2 archaeological digs at the site and uncovered even more information. And recently, at the museum itself, people have been donating artifacts that they have found over the years at the site. One of the things I'd like you to see in your packet is a close-up of one of the maps that we have here. This is a map from 1730. It's a British survey map from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mississippi River, and right in the middle is Oconee Town. Oconee Town was on that east-west trading path, went right through Oconee County, went through Oconee Town. There are other maps with Oconee Town on it. There are historical events that went there. I don't have time to go into all that, but there are a lot of things that happened. One thing I think Dan and the ladies from the DR appreciate is that all the patriots from South Carolina encamped at the site of Oconee Town. It's the only time in history that all of our South Carolina patriots were in one place at one time. It was at Oconee Town. But they were under British command at that time. That's pre-Revolutionary War, but it's an exciting thing. Then I have a letter here from the head archaeologist who helped us with the archaeological digs. He said in his last paragraph that he thinks he strongly supports the efforts to bring it under state ownership. Now, to show you exactly what we're talking about, I have an enlarged map of the town site. So the green area is Oconee Station. The outlined red area is the Todd farm, Todd property. They're willing to sell 53.6 acres that include the entire archaeological site. So that's where we come in. Thanks. Like I said, over the years, we've raised funds for different things. So we're going to give the opportunity for the students of Oconee County to take part in this and have some ownership in it. I think we owe it to them. This will be purely voluntary. They don't have to participate if they don't want to, but I have the feeling, knowing, having taught, I think they would love to be able to take part and have some ownership in it. So I made up a jar just like we used to do. Nan, will you hold that up?
Luther,
This is something I just did.
I have a better idea. I'll just pass it around the school.
Okay.
if this, once this is purchased, who will be the owner? The state?
The state will be. Now, we are sponsoring it, the museum board. I have some board members here. But the museum will sponsor it. It will actually be purchased by Natural Land Trust, and Upstate Forever will buy a conservation easement on it, and then at that point, it will be turned over to the state. And I have a letter of support from different folks. First one I have in here is from Phil Gaines, who is head of State Parks and Recreation. So he supports this 100%. He said it'd be the most unique thing ever, because it'd be the only state park anywhere in the United States that has all the things that we offer. Not only state park, but federal parks. Would have a early Native American settlement, town site, would have a frontier outpost and an early pioneer settlement, all in the same state park. So no other park, anywhere, any state park or federal park has that. So he's excited about that. I have letters from the county administrator, one from Dr. Thorsland, one from the Eastern Band of Cherokee, which is a real coup, I think, because they are behind this. They would love to see this happen. I have one from Senator Alexander, from Destination Oconee. I can go on, but all the cities, all the municipalities in the county support this, all the civic groups. So you can look at this later if you want to, but I don't see a yellow card yet, so I guess I'm doing all right. Do you have any questions about any of this information, or is there anything else you need to know?
Luther, you and I talked about this last week, but I don't think you mentioned to me how long this fundraising effort would go on in the schools.
It shouldn't be long. I say 1 or 2 weeks, because I've been involved in that, and it gets older after a while. If they're going to donate, they're going to donate within the first few days, I found out. And I don't want to, make this a burden on the teachers. And again, with the teachers, it's voluntary. If they don't want to do it, then it's, no one is forcing them to do it. But I just want to put the opportunity out there for anyone who wants to participate.
And how much money is needing to be raised?
We need to raise $200,000. And if the kids, if the total amount from school district is $100, that's fine, they have the opportunity, so.
Okay.
And it'll be more of the, like, putting out the containers, or is there gonna be something the kids will take home that, to the parents that says, this is what we're doing, this is what we're trying to.
We can send letters home, the teachers can send home and all that, so. Explain to them what's going on. I would like as many people to know about this as possible, we need the parents to know about this too.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Surprisingly, there are a lot of folks here in Oconee County who have never heard of Oconee Town, and they wonder where the name Oconee came from. Well, this is a way to let them know.
Would you be able to come to our October principals meeting to speak to the group? Or is that within a time frame you're looking at?
Sure,
Is
yeah.
there a rush?
One thing that's coming up is October 20th, I think it is, State Conservation Bank meets. And if we could have done part of this by then, the whole thing should be over, we could tell them, well, students were involved in this, school kids support this also. They already know, they already have a copy of this, the letters of support from.
Luther, if you could get Mr. Hanby, Dr. Thorsland, and then they'll help you set those things up for meetings and how to go about sending stuff out to the schools. So they'll take care of that with you.
We can do that.
Okay.
The meeting's not till the 12th, so if you want to do it earlier than that, we'll need to work on that.
Yeah,
We'll
I'd
meet
like to get it
October
out as soon as possible.
Okay.
I really think this is a great project. In fact, I put the entire $2 I had in my purse in the jar. I know you've worked in a school enough years that you know we have to be sure this wouldn't be a burden on personnel in the school, just
Yeah.
even to look after the money, to secure it
Yeah, and I want to
and
make it
so
as
forth.
simple as possible, because I've been there, done that.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Appreciate you being with us, Lou. We allowed Mr. Lyle 10 minutes because he was representing a group and signed up in that case as well, so. Ms. Gibson, who?
Catherine Kraus.
Okay, Ms. Kraus.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Thorsland, members of the school board, thank you for giving us the time to speak this evening. My name is Kathy Kraus. I am a proud parent of 2 children here in the school district. My daughter is in the 8th grade at Walhalla Middle, and my son is a 2nd grader at Kiwi. Over the past few weeks, there has been lots of discussion on developing a better foreign language program within the school district. I'd like to thank each of you that have taken the time to email and call not only myself, but other parents, grandparents, alumni, and community members that have reached out to you regarding this subject. With the advent of a more global economy, and I know this, I'm an engineer up at Itron, just up the road, I commend Dr. Thorsland, as well as the entire school board, in researching the ways that the school district can offer more than the minimum requirements needed in the foreign language. With the exception of just a few trial programs, Oconee County currently only offers foreign language at the high school level. So I do understand the need for this to change. But this change needs to be carefully thought out. It is not a change that needs to happen overnight. And it's definitely not a change that needs to happen at the expense of our award-winning fine art programs. If we want to teach our children to be proficient in a foreign language, it needs to be more than just a single 45-minute instruction once a week, which is what I believe one of the proposals currently on the table. Successful programs offer immersion in the language all day long. It is an integral part of their science lesson, their math lesson, and their history lesson. It is certainly not a single 45-minute instructional course. I would think Mrs. Bales, as a former foreign language instructor, would agree that she did not successfully teach any student, only seeing them once a week. If Oconee County is going to have students that are proficient in a foreign language, that language needs to be integrated in a large portion of their school day. It cannot and should not be treated as an extracurricular activity. The addition of that second language should also not be at the detriment of other subjects within the school, music, art, or even library time. A coworker of mine attended the meeting last week, and her main takeaway was that the district knows that we should be doing something with foreign language, but exactly what, we don't really know. We just need to check off a box. Oconee County administrators need to work together as a team to put together a more complete plan. Part of starting this plan is to truly know the schools within the district, understand what each community sees for their local schools. I was majorly disappointed to hear last week that many of you did not even know what the average daily schedule was for the school. If you really knew the current school schedule, you would know that our elementary students especially have very busy days. They spend hours in instructional time in math, reading, language development, science, and social studies. 2 days a week they attend a state-mandated PE class. It is just 45 minutes, 2 days a week, about 30 times the school year each, that they get to attend music and art. And one of the proposals on the table is to reduce that number. To me, that is not acceptable. Over the past few weeks, you've heard statistics showing the importance of music and art in school, especially at the elementary level. Learning to create and appreciate the fine arts is more important than ever to the development of the next generation of children. For example, many early childhood programs emphasize the use of scissors because it develops the dexterity children will need for writing. Obviously, this is a very important skill. According to Dr. Carrie Friedman, who is head of art and design education at Northern Illinois University, he says that children need to know more about the world than just what they can learn through text and numbers. Art education teaches children how to interpret, criticize, and use visual information, and learn how to make choices based upon that. This is especially important in helping children become smart consumers and navigate a world filled with marketing logos. Clearly, it is more than just knowing how to speak a foreign language that makes a student prepare for a global economy. Both of our children are learning what it takes to be a fully rounded student, and fine arts is key to this process. And it's totally because they started with fine arts in kindergarten. It's part of who they are. Everyone is already an artist when they come in. They love to sing and draw. These classes are the building blocks for fine arts in middle school and high school. Without fine arts in the lower grades, you no longer have the theater programs for award-winning marching bands, orchestras, and artists. The Governor's School up in Greenville might as well not exist. As time goes on, if we continue down this path, centers like the Brooks Center at Clemson or the Peace Center in Greenville might as well shut their doors. This may seem a bit dramatic, and I'm not meaning to do so, but this really could happen if fine arts programs are no longer supported. There are multiple school districts that have made foreign language a part of their culture, and they did it without touching the fine arts program. But it took months and months of planning. It certainly did not happen over the 2 months of summer vacation. Schools in the Asheville area have a partial Spanish immersion program. Students in Lexington County have foreign language programs at the elementary level where students actually apply to get in. Let's take a deep breath. One more paragraph. We just need a clear plan to move Oconee County into the global economy. In the school board session last week, I heard that we have a plan for foreign language. We did not have a plan for foreign language at the elementary level. If we don't have a plan in place, then why are we doing this? Shouldn't a comprehensive plan be in place even before those pilot programs were run? One of my favorite movies is Mr. Holland's Opus.
Ms. Krause, you're going to have to wrap it up.
I am.
You were allowing
Just
you
one
to
more
go
sentence.
over time now.
You can cut the arts as much as you want. Sooner or later, these kids aren't going to have anything to read or write about. The principal at the high school gave in to peer pressure to remove funding from the arts program. If we're not careful, the same thing can easily happen in Oconee County. Let's work together to simply not cave into peer pressure. Let's be smart with the taxpayer funds. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Ms. Krause, I do take exception that none of us understand what an elementary school schedule is like.
Yes, sir.
Some of us are retired from the school district, and I was their principal for 30-something years. We fully understand
Yes, sir.
the need. But thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Linda LeBlue.
Ms. LeBlue?
Thank you so much for letting me speak, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and Dr. Thorsland. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Linda Lee Blohl. I'm a Clemson University professor in the Department of Performing Arts. So of course I'm a little biased on the subject of the arts, and I want to emphasize that we know that the arts aren't going to be cut, and we're just going to address some of the issues that have been brought up to us from people that I do trust. But I do want to open with a quote. An elementary school that treats the arts as the province of a few gifted children or views them only as recreation and entertainment is a school that needs an infusion of soul, that arts are an essential element of education, just like reading, writing, and arithmetic. And this is from William Bennett, the former U.S. Secretary of Education. I also want to do one more quote. My mind is a bear trap for music. And this is from Brandon Nixon, age 11, who studied music at Ravenel Elementary School, which I just love that quote. I think we've heard some possible plans and proposals to possibly render the arts teachers part-time or possibly be traveling teachers. Another idea was that whenever an arts teacher retires or leaves a job, that she or he may be replaced by a foreign language person. And I also want to emphasize, just like Ms. Krause, that no one is against foreign language, okay? I'm Chinese, I come from an immigrant family, and I come from a bilingual home. So I totally understand how important foreign language can be and how global it will make a child. But we just want to be sure, as Ms. Krause has said, that it does not come at the expense of elementary arts education. We're just concerned that the alteration of an elementary arts education in Oconee County that has proven to be successful, that has been clearly beneficial to a huge portion of the student population, that altering this would almost set us backwards. Oconee County is known for the arts. It is the reason why, as a Clemson University professor, that I have kept my children in Oconee County. My snotty colleagues at Clemson, and I love them, but they all look down on Oconee County. They think that Clemson Elementary is the best school around here, and I will beg to differ because of the arts. Okay, we offer things that they just don't realize, and that is the reason why I have stubbornly kept my children here. I was so impressed with the Ravenel Elementary Artists on the Green. This was before my daughter entered kindergarten, and I thought, wow, this place has it going. This is so inspiring. No other elementary school does this. And I thought, definitely, I will stay and not move, because that was my original plan, was to move when I had children. And I thought, no way, I'm going to stay. And this is why the elementary arts education is so important, and that we must have full-time elementary arts teachers, because the minute you render them part-time or diminish them, they won't be invested, okay? And I've experienced this in my own department at Clemson University. We have many part-timers. We're trying to build a music major, okay? And it's so difficult because we can't afford to have full-time teachers in all the instruments. I'm full-time, and I have 15 piano students. Our percussion teacher's full-time, and he has about 20. He needs 2 teachers. But the other instruments are part-time, and it's so hard to build. And right now, we have this already. And why take away from that? Especially since this is the time when children, you gotta get them when they're young. And this is the time when children need that engagement, okay? They already know how, they're natural artists. They already know how to sing. They already draw voluntarily when they're young. Why not capitalize on that? Well, full-time teachers, we absolutely have to have that. The minute that rotation, if that's proposed, becomes more infrequent, you've lost all the benefits. And we know, it has been proven that when children, elementary children, are involved in the arts, this helps their social skills, it helps their test scores, it helps them make decisions, it helps them strive for excellence, it forces them to use both sides of their brain. There is nothing else in the core classes that will help you do that. The arts will. Why deprive them of that opportunity in the elementary arts? Children are artists, says Deborah Meyer, who's an American educator, scholar at Newark University at Steinhardt. So you need regular arts education to nurture this instinct, especially when they're uninhibited. Okay, they get early cognitive development from the arts, and this all happens, of course, when they're young. Okay, and the same could be said with foreign language. But I think it would be great if we could figure out to have an involved curriculum that has all of these things, and that would be wonderful. We just don't want to sacrifice elementary education. Do I have
That's
any
your
left?
time. Thank you.
Okay, just one more quote. Art leaves no child behind. Thank you
you.
so much for the opportunity.
I wish both of you could have been here last week, because you would have heard comments from the board. But we fully support the arts and have no intention of doing anything to diminish the years that we've put into supporting the arts and the programs that we've built, and we appreciate your support. And good luck with your colleagues at Clemson, and I hope you can keep working on it.
Yes, I will.
Thank y'all for being with us. Okay, next on the agenda is approval for the minutes. If we could get a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I
Exhibit
move the
1.
September 19th regular meeting minutes be approved.
Second the motion.
Motion second. Anybody see anything you needed addressed? Hearing none, all in favor? Unanimous. And action items, graduation location. Ms. Tammy, you want to give us a quick update? And I know you presented all that last week.
I did, and I got a little bit more information since we talked last time. I talked with Steve Garrett at Walhalla High School and found out that his students, his seniors, had also voted in favor of going to Little John. They thought it was a little more formal and cooler. Cooler both air-conditioned wise and just cooler for seniors to graduate at Little John. So I will say, for full disclosure, I had a call from a community member last week who was concerned about us spending that kind of money on that. But as I said, we're spending close to that money. It's not a tremendous difference in what we're spending now, having it in 3 different locations with speakers and setup, and then man hours that we're doing that. Part of his concern was tax money going out of Oconee County. We don't have a facility in Oconee County that can host graduation the way we do it now. So the continued recommendation from the administrative team is that we go to Little John. We can look at it on a year-by-year basis if that's your preference, and but we need to get this locked in with Clemson University Athletic Department and let our folks know, our guidance departments and our senior parents and everyone know what time each school is going to have in that. So I would ask that you guys approve for us to go to Little John on June 3rd and host our graduations as we did just a few years ago.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the recommendation to hold graduation exercises at Little John Coliseum this year.
Second. Motion and a second. Any comments? Questions? All in favor? It's unanimous. And I'm sure you'll go ahead and.
And I did want to clear up too, I did get a question from the newspaper, somebody had contacted them. The estimated $21,000 is total, it's not per school, because that question was asked. So it is the total cost. I knew y'all knew that, but I wanted to clear that up. There's no news here, but maybe somebody will watch it on video. So that question did come up, so just for full disclosure. Our next part for my department is the elementary attendance route changes. These are changes that Mr. Grant, the bus supervisor, and Ms. Hughes, our Director of Student Services and Safety, have looked at for several months. This is going to really clean up some areas with our buses where we have a couple of elementary buses passing each other on the road, because one side is one elementary school and the other side is a different elementary school. So this will go a long way towards cleaning those up. Not many students, in fact, the majority of these don't even have students on them at this time. But for future need, if that happens, we want to be able to say, no, this is the school you're going to go to. Of course, we will grandfather in anybody who does live on these roads and let them continue to attend the elementary school where they are attending and provide their transportation until they're finished with 5th grade. Now, if the question came up, if there's a 4th grader going to Kiowee and he has a 3-year-old or 4-year-old sibling, and next year he's a 5th grader and they're in kindergarten, those parents will need to know that after the first year of us providing transportation, they will become school choice, and they would provide it, because we're only grandfathering in the current students. If we don't, we'll never end. So we have to draw the line somewhere. So again, it's a minimal number of students. Mr. Grant will contact all of them and those families personally and make sure that they're aware. So we just ask that you clean that up for us. Help us clean that up.
Steve, approximately how many students are we talking?
It's less than 20.
Less than 20?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I've got names on that big map in there where we can tell you, but it's less than 20.
That's good.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the administration's recommendation as it relates to elementary attendance lines.
A second.
Motion and a second. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Hearing none, then all in favor. It's unanimous as well. Thank you. And next is the first reading, exhibits 3 through 12. Can we group these? And
I don't think there was anything
most
controversial in any of them. I think if you want to group them all together, it's, I mean, certainly if there's
we
anything.
went over these for those of you that weren't here last week. Each individual one, that's why we have a work session and then voting action meeting is the second meeting, this month's regular scheduled meeting. Most of it is just one or
Legal
two
references.
paragraphs of legal references
John's
or
legal reference, yes, sir.
or something of that nature. So is there anything that you want to look at individually? We've had discussion on these in a particular area.
There was something I was looking at under school choice, but I can't seem to find it now.
We'll give you a second, Jerry. Go ahead.
School choice was the one that changed the most, just because the Title I opt-out is no longer available.
But we took out a whole.
So we took out a whole section,
of
the
the-
whole
few years
page,
ago-
basically.
A few years ago, we had to provide transportation from one of our schools because of test scores and how it related under No Child Left Behind.
No, go
And
back to where we were.
now that No Child Left Behind is no longer the law of the land for education, it's not applicable, so we deleted that.
Mike, what I wanted to refer to just for a second, the eligibility for athletics at the middle and high school levels is governed by the South Carolina High School League. That's been that way for a long time, right?
It is.
We do not allow recruiting, do we?
No, sir.
That's correct.
That's against high school league
Well,
rules.
that's
and-
not what I heard by a couple of folks that told me that there was some recruiting going on, because they told me that some people from other areas came and talked with him about his son going to a different school.
that-
So we do not allow
He needs to
that,
contact
right?
me. That person needs to contact me to give me the
Investigate that.
specifics.
But now, a lot of times, certainly, we don't allow recruiting from our employees, but parents,
Right.
kids, not saying we encourage it, not saying it's the right thing to do, we can't govern what a parent does.
Oh, I understand that.
But now, if it's our employees, if it's our coaches, then Mr. Hamby needs to know, and we need to investigate as soon as possible.
We do have, the high school league now has the intra-district transfer, which allows a student to transfer once every 365 days and be eligible for. So my son's a freshman at Walhalla. He could leave and go to Seneca tomorrow, and the principals would sign a letter saying that that's okay for him to do that. He could stay there for a full year. Then September 20th next year, or 21st, he could leave and go to West Oak, and that would be legal within the high school league rules and that. Now, nobody's going to recruit him, but, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I understand that part of it. What concerns me is if we actually have people doing that, trying to recruit the better athletes from one area into another area, that just does not ring very well with me, but
No, sir, and I will be
I'm
honest
sure
with you.
it's done.
2 years ago, we had to address a situation like that, and that person no longer coaches for us. Okay, and it was a conversation, so they should contact me, and I'll be happy to sit down and talk with somebody.
If a school offers a program, then the student that's in that attendance area for that particular year must go to that school, or it doesn't have to go to that school, but if he's going to participate in that sport, he's got to participate in the area, in that area.
The only ones that are tied into that are homeschool. So homeschool students have no choice where they can participate. A kid can live in Walhalla and have gone to Walhalla last year, moved to West Oak, not move, but transfer to West Oak, and he will still be eligible per the high school league rules and per the way we do that, because the principal signed off saying that he's still eligible.
And that is new as of in the
Last
last 3 or 4
Yeah, I was going
years.
to
I think
say,
that's last year.
that's got to be new, because it didn't used to be that way.
It did not.
And that's what the high school league decided to do to make it, so they didn't have to govern it and police it.
Right. Many people say the high school league is in the process of pushing as many rules to the district as they can, because they don't have the resources or the time to govern it. They used to have an appeals committee. Anytime there was an eligibility question, it would go before the appeals committee. And that still exists in certain cases.
Yeah, but
But
it's
if it's
difficult
inside the
to get
district
there.
now, so if it involves Walhalla, West Oak, or Seneca, then it's
It's our
administration,
responsibility.
it's our responsibility to take care of it. And the rule specifically says you can transfer every 365 days.
Now, I want to be sure, this is not going over my head. You're not saying that a homeschool student could live in, say, Seneca
No,
and go and choose to play in Walhalla or...
they cannot.
Is where they reside.
Homeschool and charter school students must play in the attendance area where they live. But one of our students can transfer, one of our students who lives in Seneca, right beside Seneca High School, can fill out a school choice form for Walhalla or West Oak, and vice versa, and apply to go to that other school. That can be approved. Of course, we have school choice for anyone to attend, and once every 365 days, their athletic eligibility goes with them. It used to be that if you did that, you sat out a year. That's no longer the case.
So I'm not saying that somebody might not have had a conversation, because I think that this high school league has.
I think it does happen.
I think the high school league has made it where it's going to be more common, quite honestly. But I'm happy to talk with anybody if that's the case, and we have addressed it in the past, and we will. In fact, we had the conversation about it at the AD meeting on Wednesday of last week to remind them about that.
I tell you what bothers me about that is really putting the athletic programs above the educational program.
Well,
I
they
mean,
do
say-
that on
yeah.
college level so
Yeah.
much anyway. I mean, that,
But,
obviously.
but we're not about that.
And then your comment on the
Athletics are important.
homeschool and the charter school, they can go out for a sport. That doesn't mean they make the team just
Right.
because
No, they have the
go.
same-
It just means
They
that's where
have-
their eligibility is.
Right.
And we have some kids that are
They're not
homeschooled that
automatically
play.
on there.
I mean, we have a number of kids that are homeschooled that play for our sports teams, and we also have some at the charter school. If it's a sport they don't have there, like they've got their own cross-country and golf and that. So football, for example, they would have to play at Walhalla, West Oak, or Seneca, depending upon where they live, or in Pickens County if they live there.
Whose job does it become to keep up with the records on all of this?
Well, it's
That's
athletic
what
records'
athletic
job at the
records
school to keep up with it. And,
They fill out an eligibility form for every sport, and they have to make sure the students are.
it's mine and Evie's job to make sure recruiting's not going on.
Yeah.
So that's why we want to.
I don't know what person talked with the individual that talked with me.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm glad to hear that our coaches are not allowed to do, we
No,
don't allow them.
that's
to do
against,
that.
that's against high school league rules, that's
That's,
against policy, and we did have the conversation, because we were talking about kids who get upset, go through all summer with with a team, a school, and then maybe get upset that they're not gonna be the starting point guard or whatever, and they figure out something. So they then decide they want to do school choice, and because of the rules the high school league is set up, they're immediately eligible to transfer and go. We even went as far as discussing implementing in our district ourselves something that says once that season has begun, like football practice started July 29th. So once July 29th gets here, and you want to, if you've been working out with your team and you want to transfer, you can't play till winter sports. I mean, that's the conversation we had with the ADs. We haven't discussed it with Dr. Thorson and you all, but I mean, we've had that discussion, because there's concern from the coaches too. They invest in them all summer, and then they decide they want to go somewhere else.
I think we have to have some common sense and some line drawing.
And that
Yeah.
happened this year.
It did.
Yeah.
It's happened
We had
every year
someone go
that it's
through
been held.
something, got some
It's happened
one
every year that's been held.
Right.
To another.
Okay,
Did that answer?
you did. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Would you go, just briefly, bring up the parental rights and responsibilities? There's something we discussed last week. And I should have printed it out.
Okay, I've got it.
Okay, would you move
Oh,
on?
I've just got a paper copy, I'm sorry.
Move on down.
The biggest change was the change in red about the special education representation after a student reaches 18.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them are pretty much the legal references.
Okay, thank you.
Any other areas you want specifically, you have a question about? All right. Well, then, if it's all right with everybody, we can get a motion to approve all these on first reading.
I make a motion that we approve the following policies on first reading. Policy BEC, executive sessions, open meetings. Policy BEDB, board agenda. Policy IHAC, social studies education. Policy IHAM, health education. Policy IHBA, special education programs for disabled students. Policy IJA, comparability of services. Policy ILBB-R, state program assessments. Policy JFB, school choice. Policy KBB, parent rights and responsibilities. Policy KFA, open community use of school recreational areas.
I second the motion, so I don't have to read the list.
I have a motion and a second. This is exhibits 3 through 12 on first reading. We'll have them again next month for second and final reading. So, any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, first reading. Thank you. Next is executive session. We need a motion to go into executive session for performance, recommendations, and changes.
Mr. Chairman, I move we go into executive session for employment recommendations and changes.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, and it's unanimous. Thank y'all, that's the regular part of the meeting. We're going into executive session. Thank you for being with us.